Okay, hi.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. Good evening to you, Miss Hoy, right?
Yeah.
Kylie Hoy.
Yes.
Okay, so before we start, right, I just want to discuss a few things with you.
Okay, example.
First would be the confidentiality agreement. Okay, so I would like to assure you first of all that whatever you tell me in this room today
Yes.
will stay in this room. It will actually be fully confidential. You have my assurance of that. However, the only exception would be if, for instance, during the course of this session, if there's anything that you say which I may actually see it as a possibility of self-harm or harm onto others,
Okay.
then I will be required by law to actually disclose this. Otherwise, I would say that full non-disclosure will be assured to you.
Okay.
Is that okay for you?
Yes.
Alright. And also for this session, which will be about 50 minutes, okay, I would welcome you to discuss anything that you want to talk to me about and how I can help you. And we will end off this session roughly about 5 minutes prior to the end of our time, and I'll close off the session.
Yes.
Okay, so are you ready to start? Okay, so thank you once again. So first of all, how was your day today?
Busy day.
Busy day, okay.
Yeah.
Are you currently working?
No, I'm unemployed for more than a month. Yeah.
Okay, for more than a month. Okay, so would you like to maybe discuss with me what actually brings you here first of all? What are some of the concerns that you face and how can I actually help you out?
In the process of looking for a job and realizing that my diploma is bringing me nowhere, so understanding that I need to do self-improvement programs like upgrading my course, my skills, or stuff like that to actually empower me to get a higher pay, better wage, or maybe better benefits in life.
Okay, so you're saying that you find that what you have studied in your diploma, right, is not really very relevant. So what did you actually study when you were in the polytechnic?
Diploma in biomedical science.
Okay, so why is it that you say that what you have studied is actually not really very relevant and maybe doesn't actually place you in a good position to have the jobs that you actually want to do?
It's because it's not specialized in my current job. My previous job actually, sorry.
Okay, right.
Yeah, because my previous job is a front desk executive, so I basically handle administrative work, and then it's more of a different level or different skill sets that is required as compared to my diploma specialization.
Okay.
Although it allows me to benefit from my diploma, but there are still some things that restrictions that causes me moving forward in my position.
Okay. So maybe can I just ask how long has it been since you have graduated?
I graduated in 2012.
Okay, so that's about 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So would you like to share with me, given what you have actually mentioned, what have you actually been involved in? What kinds of careers were you involved in since the time you were graduated till now?
Okay, after graduation from my polytechnic, I actually did a degree in accounting and finance, but I didn't graduate from it. So basically, I spent about 2 years or 3 years, close to 3 years.
Okay.
Close to 3 years for this education that I didn't graduate.
Okay, so you actually did a degree and you were saying that it's in accounting and finance, huh?
Yeah.
Right, and you spent about 3 years in that entire about 2 or 3 years, right, in that course. Okay, and were you also working around the same time that you were doing this degree?
When I was having my holidays or before I even started my uni, I already did one contract job, a full-time contract job. So I informed the managers that I will actually leave once I get my position in university.
Okay.
So I did apply while I was doing contract job.
Okay. And
subsequently, I went to do part-time jobs during my holidays.
Okay.
To earn an extra income.
Right.
So sometimes during school, after school, we have days that we don't have to go for classes. I also arrange for part-time jobs that, like as and whenever it's possible.
Right. So these were the part-time jobs as well as some of the contract jobs that you actually did during the time that you were studying for your degree. Were they related to what you were studying in your degree?
No.
So what was the nature of these jobs, or what was your job scope mainly while you were doing this?
There's administrative roles. There's also hospitality-based jobs. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So after you have actually graduated, or rather not say graduated, after you actually decided to stop doing this degree, okay, did you find yourself working in different industries after that? Maybe would you like to tell me a bit more about your experiences after that?
I did try different jobs after dropping out from my university because I wasn't sure what kind of career I want and what kind of lifestyle I want to get and benefit in the future. So I haven't have my goals for my 5 years plan, 10 years plan.
Okay.
So basically I'm just running around blind. I did a lab-based job, which is a QA position. And then I also went on to do beautician line to learn some beautician skills for a year plus before I started looking for full-time jobs. So it was like learning on courses, then freelancing during the beautician period.
I see.
Yeah.
So what were after you actually completed the beautician training, did you actually look for full-time jobs that were relevant to your training in this area?
No.
No. So what were the types of, maybe would you like to describe some of the jobs that you were involved in after that?
I went to do customer service related jobs.
Right.
So I did a public relations officer. I did a call center job regarding health related company.
Okay.
As well as my previous job was in a healthcare industry as well.
Okay. So these are the jobs that you have actually done since the time. Maybe if let me roughly estimate, roughly about three years after you actually you did your degree and you had a few part-time jobs for about 2 to 3 years. So that's till about 2016.
Yeah.
Right, roughly there. And then so all of these jobs were done about 1 year after that, because you spent about 1 year undergoing training, the courses for beautician, right? And you also did a lab QA job as well at that time.
Lab QA.
Or it was after?
Yeah,
it was before the beautician
job. Yes.
Sure. So after this, I would say that these 3 jobs would probably be within the span of about 2016 to 2017, which is all these jobs are in customer service, public relations, and in the call center. Were they all within the span of about 1 to 2 years max?
Yeah, 1 to 2 years.
So it looks like these jobs were only for short periods of time.
Yep.
Would you like to maybe share with me what was it that made you do the transitions between these different jobs? And these were actually full-time jobs, right? You were actually given full-time.
No, the call center job is a contract job, contract-based job.
Okay.
So it was a transition period when I was still unable to search for a full-time job that is giving me the benefits of a full-timer that I can accept. That's why I accepted this contract job as a standby to have some income at hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So the others is actually the environment-wise, it doesn't suit me as well.
Okay.
Yeah, the people in the company as well as the environment I'm in.
Okay.
The people I'm facing.
So the people you're facing at work, were the main cause of you actually leaving the companies?
Yes, part
Okay.
of the reasons.
Maybe would you like to also share a little bit more on what exactly were the situations or maybe the thoughts that ran through your mind that probably led you to the decision to want to actually leave the company?
It was more based on the supervisor who is handling me and my colleague.
Okay.
So
And this was for which particular
public
job?
relations company.
Public relations, okay. Alright, sorry, please carry on.
Yeah, so this public relations company, my supervisor was picking on, not really picking on me. Rather, he was saying that I was too slow and inefficient in my job because he thinks that I'm taking longer to complete the work
Okay.
than what he expects us to do.
Okay.
But issues that I was facing then was also because I'm handling walk-in customers. Yeah, so it's a construction company. We expect we are open to public in that area, so rather residents we call them. So residents walk in, we have to do service to them, and then we do necessary changes or answers or rectifications that is required. So I still have jobs on hands that I have to do, including those not including those walk-in customers. So my supervisor is not including such factors, and then it was causing me stress because he was adding more work than I could actually handle in my cup. Yeah. So it was a reason, or rather it was contributing factors.
Okay.
Because I was not I'm suffering from my mental illness.
Okay. Alright. So perhaps we will come to that later.
Okay.
But I just want to speak a bit about what you mentioned, right? You mentioned that your supervisor felt that you were not capable enough, right, to be able to deal with this job.
Yes.
That was what the supervisor himself said so to you, and he did reflect this to you.
He reflected to me only, but he didn't reflect it to my manager. So I actually questioned my manager when he reflected that question the day before. So let's say today my supervisor told me about this issue, I went to my manager the following day.
Alright. So the thing is this is what your supervisor mentioned to you.
Yes.
Your assessment of yourself in how you actually were able to manage the tasks that were given to you. Do you concur with what he has actually assessed you to be?
No. Because
so
I
what
was finding solutions to actually reduce the amount of time and improve the efficiency. So I came up with a lot of things like data logs to consider who is collecting which key, because we are handling a lot of different kind of keys at the current moment, and we have residents walking in, our workers asking for different kind of keys for access.
Okay.
So we are like the main center of the office, so we are doing a lot of different factors.
Right.
So we are handling different peoples in different aspect of the job itself. So coming up with all this only benefited the company in the future after I left. So I do not agree with what he was saying. It's just that at that moment of time he didn't see the importance of the thing that I was bringing in. So he thinks that I'm wasting my time and doing additional work.
Okay.
Yes.
So did this actually lead you to feel that you were not valued in the company?
Yes.
Or in the company as a whole, or was it mainly because of what you would deem to be possible personality clashes with the supervisor?
I think it's partially because of the co-workers also believe that I was slightly slower than usual. So it was not my manager. I do not agree that it's the whole company who thinks that way.
Right.
It might just be the small part of the section, my department.
Okay.
But my general manager is actually a person who is understanding, and he actually he knows what I'm doing, and then he believes in me. He have trust. And my assistant general manager is giving me tasks that I'm supposed to assist him with. So I believe that it's just a biased opinion.
Of a smaller group of people?
Yeah, that was not fair to me. That's why I decided I should leave.
Okay. So it would have possibly been a problem even if you tried to stay on. Would you have foreseen this to be a problem that would have been so insurmountable that no matter what you did, you had to just leave?
Yes, it will be a occurring issue next time.
Okay, so
because I understand the fact that this issue is not just faced by me, it was faced by my previous colleagues who actually taught me some other things.
Okay, so in other words, right, this was mainly a rather toxic culture that you found the company to be in?
Yes.
That no matter what you did, and even though you mentioned that the GM, right, was actually quite trusting of you and still able to, and still had a high opinion of you and your capabilities, but because of the environment on the ground,
yes,
most of the time that's how people in the company would actually behave or would react lah.
Yes,
and therefore there was nothing that you could do. Okay, so this was in the construction company, right? So what about the other two companies that followed after the construction company?
After the construction company, it was my contract job in a call center. Basically, it's a healthcare industry. So we just take calls according to the apps. So basically, these are app users who have issues. So we will do technical solving and stuff.
Okay.
For these people who are calling in. So the issue I'm facing with that contract job is they are changing their statement every single day.
Okay.
So maybe we are working from Monday to Saturday. But the things that they say on Monday is different from Tuesday. So we have to call back people from Monday and explain to them, oh, the one that we said yesterday was not the exact or the latest information. So this causes an issue for us because we have to meet our own call rate. So we have to reduce the number of drop-out calls that we cannot answer due to the high volume in the calls. Yeah.
So allow me to just clarify. So in other words, you feel that your company that you were working in, they were not able to have a very consistent messaging. They were not able to have a very well organized action plan or SOP, which is what actually was the main reason for you feeling that this organization, this environment is not for you.
Yes.
Was that the main thing?
Right.
So do you feel that you could have done something to perhaps reflect to management so that they can see the issue on the ground? And perhaps, or have you actually tried that before?
Me and my fellow colleagues, actually, we tried a few methods and raising issues. We have briefings at the end of the days, and before the start of the day, we will have basic reviews, like what are the things to note on the day itself, and then at the end of the day, we have a debrief session.
Okay.
So every day, when we end, we have to see our own call targets, like how many did we did on a single day, and then what are the feedbacks that we have during that debrief. But whenever we raise an issue, they will have a reason that they think to counter us. They never ever think that this issue could be a leading problem in the future, in the long run. So our suggestions on the ground will never hurt, or rather the people who are using the apps are actually complaining or giving us feedbacks to do improvement, but it was never heard or never even considered by these people who are called managers or management levels.
Okay.
It was not even transferred to the necessary department to actually do the weightage, whether is this factor a possible flexible cost of floor to this app itself.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So this is actually another situation that you found very. How will you describe the kind of feelings that went through you when you actually tried to reflect? So it was mainly frustration that you felt, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how long did you actually stay in this company?
2 months.
Okay, so 2 months was enough for you to.
It was a contract job, so
Okay, I see. Okay, so it was a 2-month contract, and you found that there was no point continuing after that.
Yes.
Okay, so what about the next job after that?
It was a front desk executive in the healthcare industry.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, with this job experience from the call center, I make sure that when I was being hired, I inform my managers about such issues. So I want to raise concerns regarding the issues I do not wish to face again.
Okay.
And avoiding situations like that again. So I informed my hiring managers, and he was a very nice person to actually educate me and give me opportunities to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But there were changes in the company system. So there was changes in management as well. So we have a lot of changes during the process when I joined and till the point I left. So at the initial phase, before I was confirmed, I was already handling things that my full-timers or the other full-timers were handling like after a few years. So basically I handle a clinic on my own. And then my other seniors who have been there for more than 10 years, 15 years, they are asking me for advice and how they should proceed with the procedures, like whatever is necessary that they needed at that point of time.
Okay. So you were given quite a fair bit of responsibilities while you were in this company.
Yes.
And you were also empowered to make quite a few changes of your own when you.
It was within my scope, so it was just daily job that I can do changes. So it was more like allocating time according to the patient level. So understanding the patient load at a certain time of day makes me know what I can handle at that point of time.
Okay. So with all of these, I know you did mention about the transition. How specifically did this transition probably lead you to the decision to leave?
Because my hiring manager was leaving.
Right.
And then I was supposed to actually get increment after my probation.
Okay.
So my probation was passed in February 9. The company do a yearly increment in March.
Right.
So according to my hiring manager, he said that it was an off-peak increment. That's why there was changes in the HR policy, which causes the off-peak increment not to be taken note. So it will be dragged to the next subsequent year. So he also informed me that the cut-off was in December for this increment in 2018 March. So I was rather annoyed and I was very frustrated because it was my pay and it's affecting my pay as in my lifestyles as well.
Okay. So just now you did mention in the previous company, you were very frustrated when you couldn't really solve the issues. Now over here, you were actually previously given quite a fair bit of empowerment. You did quite a lot of work, right, for the company. But yet after this, you were not given the increment that you felt that was promised, or rather that was really promised to you, right?
It was already promised before I joined the company, so it was not. It's not a thing that after I joined the company.
Okay. But this promise was made by the hiring manager at that point of time.
Yes.
And so with the change in the management, this promise was not kept.
Yes.
So
he said that it was a change in the HR system.
I see. Was this change in the HR system communicated to you? As in, what was the nature of the change that resulted in this? Was this communicated to you by the incoming manager that was managing you after that?
The changes in the management was the managing director who changed. My hiring manager didn't change.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
So according to him, it was the HR side who have changes in their policies.
Got it.
So it was the policy that changed, so causing the off-peak season increment not to be fulfilled.
Okay.
So from my previous colleagues who actually have been here, they already informed me that it was not the first time that this occurrence happened.
Okay.
It also did occur to the other colleague who left.
So once again, this would probably be a signal to you that this organization was not really something that you could actually stay in.
Yeah,
Is that
it
the
was
case?
because the trust that I have put in the company and they didn't fulfill it.
Okay. And
so
you also
it's
mentioned,
a disappointment.
Sure. You also mentioned that there were other colleagues who also were in a similar situation to you.
Yes.
So this was something that happened around the same time that you were there,
1 year ago.
1 year ago. Okay. So if that's the case, if it happened 1 year ago, then how would this actually be linked to what they mentioned about a change in the HR system? Was the change in the HR system done a year ago at that
I
time?
didn't dare to question them.
Okay,
so I only managed to get it through WhatsApp, and then he didn't want to directly talk to me regarding such issues.
I see. Okay, noted. But in any case, as you've mentioned, trust was lost already.
Yes.
Was this a major factor that led you to leave the company?
It was quite a big factor.
So what were the considerations? I mean, you were actually given the chance to stay on in this company, right? But you decided to leave this company. So
yes.
Why was it that this would have been a very severe issue that made you cement your decision to leave the company?
It's because the way or the style of work my supervisor is doing. So the possible risk of these things that my supervisor is doing causes me to be involved in people's, or rather patients' health.
Right.
And MOH checkings and whatever loss is possible. Because regarding a patient, you will never know what kind of implication it will lead to.
Okay.
And I already reminded her a lot of times before she made a decision. I remind her about what are the consequences of her making such decisions, and giving her another options. So I will give her at least 3 options or 2 options before I give her a problem. So I will make sure I enforce the importance, or rather the consequences, before she make a decision. But she refused to listen to the consequences and blindly think that her decision is the right one.
Okay. So what I'm hearing now is that in addition to the loss of trust in the company's probably their promises in terms of HR, you're also concerned, and this is a common theme I've also noted on the work practices in the company and the processes that you probably feel that are insufficiently handled, and therefore has an impact on the patients that the company is dealing with, right? So if you were to look at these 2 matters that we have just spoken about, which do you think is of a greater concern to you? Whether the company gives you what you deserve in terms of the remuneration, that's one part, or whether the company has got airtight, solid policies as well as processes in place that would protect their beneficiaries. Which do you think is more important to you?
What do you mean by beneficiaries?
Beneficiaries will be the patients that the company is actually looking after, because you have mentioned it is the processes that directly affect the well-being of the patients.
To me, I think they are both equally important.
Okay.
Because if we according to patients. What do you say that just now? Patient.
Their well-being.
Well-being, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
If we don't think patient's well-being is the first priority in our job, then I believe that maybe we can consider looking for another industry.
Okay.
Because eventually we are working in healthcare. So whatever concern, we should put our patients as priority.
Okay.
So my second concern, why I think is equally important is because eventually at the end of the day, I'm just earning for a rice bowl. I'm just earning for my daily consumptions.
That's right.
Yeah. So I guess to me on a personal level, they are both equally important.
Okay.
But on a aspect as just a staff who is not looking at the benefits of the other perspective, patients' well-being is the most important, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, this is well noted. In fact, maybe if I could just sum this up so far, right? Based on what you have described to me in your previous jobs that you have actually been involved in, I've noted a few similar concerns, right? That probably led you to decide to leave the companies. The two main concerns I can see here. First of all, I see this joint between what you value and what your organizations that you were working for, what are their values. So I tend to see that, and that has been the case all the way since the first company, right? You tend to see this issue, and all the way till the last company. And this actually speaks to me as the fact that the environment is something that is very important to you, and you value working with people, and you also value positive relationships in your workplace. So am I right in saying that this is one matter that would actually be a very important consideration wherever you work?
Yes, definitely.
As in the nature of the social environment.
Yes,
so
because that will be my main priority concern.
Okay. So that I saw as one of your main concerns.
Yes.
The other I noticed as well, which is a recurring theme as well, was that whenever you notice that there is something not right in the procedures, that were maybe the processes in the company, how the company actually goes about dealing with the patients, their beneficiaries, or even in the other companies when the processes were not carried out well, you found yourself being quite frustrated about this, and that is because you tend to have a sense of wanting to do your best at your job. That means that you feel very committed, you feel very responsible. So do you see yourself as a very responsible person? Because you seem to care a lot about how processes are carried out.
I guess, yeah, maybe because it was due to my upbringing, so I guess, yeah, I agree that I wish to be responsible. So I try as much as possible to perfect my job-wise.
Okay.
Job, in any aspect of a job.
Okay, because from what I can see here, these are two of the main pillars in terms of what you view as your values, right, as well as your interests.
Yes.
Right? Because if I were to go back to your RISEC results, right, which you have kindly provided me earlier on, I've noticed this. You actually have got a number of peaks, right? You have actually got a number of peaks in your different, I would say, interests. Okay, a few things that stand out. First of all, I've noticed that you actually have got your investigative and social. These are the ones that are pretty high. Okay, so why is it that I mentioned that the social part first? We spoke about what you mentioned just now. You treasure working with people, correct? And you actually treasure the positive working environment that comes with different jobs that you actually were looking out for, and because of the fact that you were not able to achieve this. Therefore, this was one of the major factors.
Yes.
Okay. Then the other thing I've also noticed is that your investigative component is very high. Now, just to recap what you've actually mentioned to me just now, you mentioned that in your job prior to the latest one, and as well as in the latest job, you were also empowered with a few different tasks where you actually had the chance to actually make positive changes in processes. So you actually were able to think of solutions.
Yeah.
Correct? So that actually shows you that that is something that actually you are very keen, or rather you are pretty I would say strong in, right? And when you are not given that opportunity, when you are not given the opportunity to be empowered to do something positive, then you find that you are also you find that there's actually a barrier to you
Yes.
being able to progress in your career.
Yes.
Right? So this actually ties in with your RISEC profile. However, right, if we were to look at both, if we were to look at all the other details here, I've also noted that you have quite high scores in two other areas. One of which is the conventional, alright, and the other one is the enterprising. So let me perhaps try to ask you, because I can see very clearly based on what you described to me, right? These investigative and social is something that you actually definitely have an affinity for. Now, enterprising, what does that mean? Enterprising means that you are business-minded. You want to do things that are within the realm of business, right?
Yes.
Marketing, things like that. So that is the enterprising portion, which I don't really see here at this point. Maybe we can clarify a little later. The other one, conventional. What does conventional mean? Because you're also quite high in there. Conventional refers to doing things that are very by the book, very routine. Examples would be accounting related, qualitative analysis, standard lab procedures, not those where you actually go and find out about how would I say it? It's not those where you go and do experiments to try and solve a problem, no, but just doing routine lab procedures. So that's the other part that I noticed that you're very high in these two, almost close to the other two which you have just described in your jobs. Do you have any I would say experiences that you think may have actually caused you to have an interest in these two areas as well? Because they seem to be quite high. It means that you also desire this in your work, or rather in your work environment. So let's talk about entrepreneurship first.
Entrepreneurship is more because my family side, my father's side, they have their own business in
Okay.
It will be my father's siblings
Okay.
who have their own business. So when I was even younger, I went in to actually learn how they handle, how they do stuff in their own business, and actually I like to explore what are the things that they do to improve themselves.
Okay.
So basically when I was in the shop itself, I will just watch and see what are the people doing, how they are doing things. So basically those are the times where I actually learn my customer skills, my investigation skills, and then entrepreneur skills.
Right.
So during that period of time, I think it was during holidays, I was there. So basically I was looking at how the way they price their things. So not allowing their customers, the buyers, to know that what is the actual price and what are the ways they use. So maybe they use codings, they could be using alphabets, numberings, and then the way they are placing their stocks and stuff like are a lot of details that in business they use to actually help them to be more efficient. So this is the reason why I'm actually very curious, like how each individual organization works. So I don't mind actually exploring different companies or different fields.
Okay, so that actually is very useful because you have actually described, you have actually given the background as to why is it that you have these enterprising nature around you, which is actually a good thing because in doing all the various different jobs, you have actually managed to probably expose yourself to different fields. And also I think based on what you mentioned from your younger days, right, you're also exposed to all of these different aspects of possibly running businesses, how businesses are run.
In the
right?
past,
Yeah. So relating this back to what you did in your degree, right? Because what you did in your degree prior to you actually doing it was accounting and finance. Am I right? Okay. So your degree seems to be bringing you on that pathway towards what we would call the business route or the accounting route. So the business route would be something that actually, we just spoke about enterprising, right? Something along those lines. And the accounting route is something that's very conventional, right? Why? Because the nature of an accounting job is actually something that is very routine, right? But you need to be highly meticulous in what you do, right? So I understand that you left you stopped doing your degree. Will you consider going back to doing it?
No.
So that's something that you have eliminated totally, right? Not going back into these two, not going back into the accounting route or finance route anymore.
If there was a choice to choose the modules,
yes,
and I could eliminate economics,
okay,
I would still give accounting or finance a go.
I see. But economics is, you do know that economics is something that
It's a
is central.
foundation.
It's a foundation of all of these different careers.
Yes, I understand. That is the reason why, or rather this is the barrier that is keeping me away from these degree courses.
Got it. So this is actually something because of the nature of the subject, perhaps, right? And do you find it too difficult, or do you just find it not interesting? Which is it that turns you off the subject, economics in particular?
During lectures, actually, I enjoy it.
Okay.
But I don't understand what is the question asking and how should I apply it to the questions in examinations and all.
I see. Okay. So in other words, you actually find it something that's pretty difficult to understand.
Yes.
Right? And also to have real world application. You find it hard to apply it? Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Application wise, I just don't understand how are each individual graphs related to the modules, and how is it related to each questions? How am I going to apply this graph to this question and answer the questions?
I understand. Okay.
It's just like problem sum. How do I do it and put it in?
Okay. Right. So the difficulty level is something that is the main reason, because the fact that you have actually stopped doing this degree,
yes,
right? And after about 2 years plus, and all of it I'm hearing now is all boiling down to this particular module.
Yes.
And you just mentioned to me in very certain tone that you are definitely not going back into this degree anymore.
If I ever have an option to not do economics, I will consider going back to this module.
Correct. But we do know that
this
will not be the case. Okay, so this is noted. So I do understand that these are some of your barriers, the perceived barriers in terms of going back into that area, and possibly also why you haven't mentioned anything that I see based on what you have done in your previous job and what actually is of value to you. You haven't really mentioned anything that is related to something along those lines. Because you didn't, along the lines of maybe doing a part-time job in an accounting related career, going back into it, or maybe something that's related to accounting, bookkeeping, something along those lines.
Actually, I did try accounting-based job in my uni days during my holidays.
So that was one of the part-time jobs that you did during.
Two rather.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you find that?
It was very simple routine job for me.
As a routine job, how do you feel about routine job? Given a job that's somewhat challenging, where you are empowered to make decisions and manage quite a few processes and you are able to change, versus a routine job doing accounting, well, probably quite safe, but very routine. Which do you foresee yourself doing as a priority, or rather as a preference?
Jobs with changes and possible processes that I can do change.
So you are much more inclined towards jobs where you yourself have control over something.
I like to control my time during work hours because I like to plan before what I'm going to do for the day.
Okay.
So I want to achieve these goals at the end of the day. So at the beginning of the day, I tell myself what are the things that need to be submitted on the day or maybe the following day. So I complete it beforehand, then I will just clear it as soon as possible and slot it according to the times that I'm available to complete while doing my other jobs on hand.
Okay. So with this, right, I'm actually now looking at bringing forth all of what you have mentioned before, your interests as well as your values, and how can we look at a possible career pathway for you.
Alright.
Right, which is what we want to explore right now. Given that you are more inclined towards something that you have got control over, right, and also you want to be able to work with others, right? What possible career paths do you think might be able to help you fulfill these requirements? And whether have you actually been looking out for these consciously?
I was advised by my hiring manager in the previous company to actually try for managerial position in clinic-based.
Alright.
So he told me that actually my administrative work I was doing quite a well job, and good job about it.
Right.
And then he was saying that he was impressed the way or the way I handle things, and then he was quite dumbfounded when I raised some issue that was not really my job related, but it was an issue that the company will be facing in the future.
Okay, so obviously you are pretty good at doing these jobs. So have you looked at the possibility of going into management in a clinical hospital setting? Have you looked into that as a possibility?
Looking into management position is something that I ever consider, but definitely not in a hospital setting yet.
Okay, so what, let's say this is your aim now, right? This is your goal. What do you think you need to bring you over there? What do you think needs to be done in order to get you from where you are now into this particular career pathway?
I guess it will be improving my education certificate.
Okay, so what kind of certifications do you foresee might be useful?
I did actually look into options for healthcare industry to do their improvement. So for Singapore, there is this thing called the Skills Future, or the $500 that Singaporeans get actually.
Right, Skills Future, yes.
So I logged onto the website and actually I saw this HMI Institute of Health Science.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did a check, and then I saw the course preview. There are a few courses that they are offering at the time of at the point where I was looking at their website.
Okay.
Because the detail were not enough on the website itself, I did a call in. I did ask further, but the person who was answering said that it was more relevant if I go down to their course preview to actually ask this question,
Right.
and they will be able to give the exact answer. So they were not able to promise me the answer even it was 1 week later since the call to the course preview. So after I went for the course preview, I heard that this HMI requires 3 things from people. So basically they want their students to be mentally fit, physically fit, as well as being able to handle things like blood, vomits, feces, organs, or whatever is necessary for the job. So one thing I was facing was, because the first thing that they informed was mentally fit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So earlier on you did mention something about mental issues.
Yes.
So maybe if I could ask, what is it that concerns? I mean, you did mention this is something that you see as a concern to you. So how would this actually be a concern to you? What exactly is it that they require when they say that they need their course participants to be mentally fit, right? What exactly is it that they require from you in order to prove that you are mentally fit, and how do you feel that this might actually be a problem for you? Because the other criteria, you should have no problem handling it, right?
Yes.
Yes. So why is this an impediment?
So for me, that to be actually acknowledging my own medical issue, or rather announcing it to people who are interviewing me for just a course, I think it's not very fair. It's just like, you don't have to tell someone that you have kidney failure,
right,
to go for a course to study about healthcare industry.
Got it.
Or administrative position.
Okay.
How is it fair for me to acknowledge, or rather announce it to whoever these people in the school, to know about my medical condition, that I am mentally ill?
Okay. So can I just check with you, just to clarify? Did they give you a form for the course application where you need to specify? I mean, how exactly did they ask the question about whether you are mentally fit? Did they specify anything about whether you are currently undergoing treatment?
Yes.
What were the questions phrased in that way?
I cannot recall the exact question, but there were questions that require us to state whether we have any ongoing illnesses, or so, or any medical conditions.
Okay.
So it was an important factor to actually state whatever conditions I have, just in case that if there is any occurrence during the course, I will still be protected.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it should be omitted, but yes, certainly I don't see an issue at this point about indicating this, because I do not think that this will be a criteria that they would immediately strike their applicants off. I do not see that as a criteria. I see this as just probably procedures in standard applications. However, yes, I do understand where you're coming from. It may actually feel, it may be deemed as discriminatory because just by asking such a question may not be comfortable for
Even
most
saying
people.
That these are the 3 criteria during the course preview itself,
Yes.
I think is discriminating.
Okay, I understand that.
I understand that seeing feces, blood, and whatever organs is necessary to inform us, and to let us understand the possible risks that we will face. is important, but the problem is being mentally or physically unfit is not a choice by us.
Okay.
It could be an accident that causes it. It could be something else that was leading to it.
Yes.
So being mentally ill is also another issue that causes me to have to face when I was applying for jobs.
Okay.
So basically, recruiters, once they hear that you are mentally ill, they even question, are you certified by a doctor to say that you are mentally ill? I think it's not very fair because it will be a personal comment directly.
Yeah, I understand.
The way the person phrase it is not very fair for us. So I understand that she might be ignorant and the way that she phrase it might be wrong. But I don't think it's very fair for us people who have mental illness to have this kind of statement to be or judgment to be made to us.
Yes, I understand. So in that case, right, specifically for this application for the course, my advice is that if you are very keen and you feel that this is actually a good stepping stone, right, to a career where you are able to achieve what is it that you actually are hoping to be empowered in, right, as well as to do something for others, which is what you also are interested in, going back to your two main things, which are your social and your investigative aspects. Then if this course will actually help you to move in that direction, right, I think it would be strongly encouraged for you to still continue, because I do not see that this would be an impediment, as opposed to what you mentioned previously about other job applications. Then probably that is a possible impediment, right, because that would be for admitting into the specific job. But I do not think that this would be an issue, because they didn't say that if you have any particular mental disorder, immediately you are struck off. I believe that they will probably still interview you before they actually try to find it, because the fact is that you have been employed in several other jobs. You were not in any way compromised in your ability to do well in your jobs because of mental illness. It was not because of that. You have just shared that you have actually left the jobs mainly because of this correspondence, because of the fact that there were values that did not correspond with yours in the company, as well as there were work environments that were actually not very suitable, not very comfortable for you, right? So I mean, since we are about to end off, I'll just maybe I'll just end off the session by just summarizing what we have gone through, and let's talk about what we are going to work from here, okay? What we are going to do from here. So I understand from your experiences that you shared with me, okay, that from what I can see, you are a very committed person in your job. Whatever job you do, you are always looking at doing it well.
Yes.
So you're a responsible person, and you've mentioned that this is also because of your upbringing. So I see this as one of your main strengths. And you also value doing things for others because you are very concerned about the people that your job impacts. So this is something also that you are very concerned about and that you are passionate about as well. And you're also passionate about making sure that your well-being of the persons that you're looking after are well taken care of. Right? So I see this, right, from all of the jobs that you've done previously. You have actually taken a degree in accounting and finance, but perhaps because of some of the differences in terms of what you actually see as your desired career, and also maybe because of the difficulty level in dealing with the prerequisite subjects, right? Probably that is what that's something that you probably are not going to be considering. So right now, moving forward, let's look at the next step in you actually achieving a career that matches your interests and matches your values. And I do understand that based on what we have discussed, the career that you have mentioned, something along the lines of therapy assistant, right, or something along those lines, community health, right, would be something that is good for you to go into, because this firstly enables you to work with others, to be able to positively influence the lives of others. In this case, it will be the patients that you're working with, and also it's a good stepping stone, like what you mentioned. You desire, or rather your aspiration is actually towards management, right, in a hospital setting probably, or maybe in the medical field. And this is also linked to what we spoke of way in the beginning of this session, when you mentioned that what you have been doing so far, what you have been looking at in all of the jobs after you have graduated from polytechnic, right, they are all not related, and you find that your diploma was not actually linked at all, right? So this actually brings you back to what you have studied in your diploma, right? Because you did biomedical science, so you can also see some relevance as well, right? So now I would say that the only obstacle that we have before you actually look into this possibility of going into this career is the application. And I understand the application, because of the concern about the mental health clause in there, right? So because of that concern, I think that you are a bit inhibited in submitting the application. So maybe would you like to reconsider submitting your application and seeing or not? I'm sure that this is not something that they will actually stop you from applying, right?
It might be, because
if
this course requires me to be unemployed for at least 3.5 months.
Okay, so now you have been unemployed for 2 months, right?
1 month.
1 month, 1 month, right? Okay. But it's stated there that you need to be unemployed for 3.5 months?
Yes, because it's a full-time course. So let's say the course is for 2 days,
right.
Then maybe I'm sick on 1 day.
Mm-hmm.
I do not pass their minimum criteria of 75% attendance.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so that's the other thing.
And the other factor is the school is reluctant to actually even inform people, or rather participants who are interested in the course, of the starting date during the course interview, course review.
Okay. I believe that is also because, right, it could be that because they are not sure how many takers there are, how many applicants. So that's why they are probably not able to commit yet. But then again, there could still be several reasons. I would say that there's no harm applying, right? Why not? Let's just see whether we can apply, and then we see how things go from there. Because this is one aspect that we can actually explore towards your desired career. Right? This is one way. We can discuss about other ways in the next session. Right? So with this, I think we can call this session to an end.
Okay,
right? So I will see you again in a week's time.
Thank you.
Alright, so thank you very much, and all the best to you.
Alright.
Thank you.
Thank you.